Hey folks, Devin Pennypacker here for the Windup Watch Shop, and I'm joined today by Blake Malin for another sit-down chat-style video, much like the Hamilton video we just did, except this time we are reversing roles because the watch we're going to talk about today is the Solabs Layer 2, which is a watch that Blake actually bought at the Chicago Windup Watch Fair, correct?
Yeah, correct, yep.
That was actually where it debuted for the first time, if I am not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know if this was the show where it debuted or if this was like a year later.
Well, we're claiming it.
Okay, yeah, so this was the grand debut.
The Layer 1, I know, debuted earlier. This is the second version from Solabs, which is a little bit different, and we'll kind of get into that too.
Yeah.
But I guess, walk me through your buying decision here. This is a watch that, frankly, we both saw and we talked about in Chicago last year. It caught our eye, brought our attention to their table. We saw the clock there for the first time too. Yeah. But you actually walked home with one. Yeah. What drew you in and why did you buy one?
Yeah, I actually flew home. We were
That's
in Chicago,
true, yeah. Didn't you, I think you drove with
I did drive out that year, yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I've been a fan of what Andrew and his partner are doing at Solabs for a while. You know, they came out with the first model, which was these really cool plastic models. I actually bought one for my mother, and she loves wearing it. And it's just like this very fun approach to design that kind of, I'm not saying it like throws out the rules, but it's sort of like doesn't sort of bow to the pressure of like you have to make watches this way, or you have to make a tool watch, or you have to, everything on the watch has to be functional. And so I was a big fan of the plastic models, and then when he came out with these, I was just like really struck by the design, sort of keeping that sort of same language, but then sort of applying it to this sort of more robust timepiece, you know, steel case, mechanical movement, that kind of a thing. So it's one of those watches where I had kind of been passing them at various shows, looking up at them online, and I had been like looking at them from a distance and always thinking that I really wanted one. And then finally I just pulled the trigger at Windup. Yeah. Windup is good or bad, depending on how you look at it, at getting you to buy things. So this was my like commemorate that Chicago Windup watch.
Sure. Well, traditionally for our team too, it's a bad fair for us to buy watches because we see so many of them, we interact with so many of them. We're also really busy running around the fair and kind of interacting with you guys out there. So it's rare for a team member to come home with a watch, especially a spur of the moment watch that we weren't going into it planning on taking home. Not that it doesn't happen. Obviously, we've all been bit by the bug. Few exceptions here and there, but I think it speaks highly to the design too, because it's a design that it's very unique. It's not something that you saw from any other brand. It's not something you would see from any other brand. And I think it might have been Nelly actually too, who picked the clock as her thing of the show. So, I mean, that just goes to show you, it wasn't just the two of us who were talking about the brand. A lot of people were that entire weekend, which was pretty cool. Yeah. And it's a very unique design. So, obviously, you purchased that one in particular. But there are different models here. So, you've got different colors. You have polished versus brushed versus a black DLC coating. Why that version in particular?
Sure. So, I like them all, but I really like the combination of sort of the blasting on this case with the color scheme, which I'm sure you'll see in some of the close-up shots that we have. There's certainly a fair amount of color. There's this sort of like minty, loomy greens. There's like light and dark purples. There's this sort of like gray color in the back, but it's also like very monochromatic. It's like sort of the feeling that you get from it. And something about sort of the blasted case with that sort of monochromatic, kind of subdued like dial just felt very kind of severe to me and sort of like industrial, which I really like. But at the same time, it's got this kind of like there's no literal star on the dial, but it's kind of got this like star triangle motif, you know, going for it. And like, you know, it so it like can't help but be a little bit more playful and fun. So I really like that combination. But for me, like this just felt very kind of like severe and like, you know, engineered to me, which I liked a lot. Yeah.
Well, and speaking of the engineering behind it too, obviously we have a very unique case shape. It's 40 millimeters wide in diameter, 42 I think lug to lug, so it's a pretty round overall shape, which is interesting. Pretty odd for a lot of watch companies. Usually the lugs extend quite a bit further out, and then it just under 13 mil thick. It's not a small watch, so it has wrist presence, and I think the brushing on it actually kind of makes it appear a little larger, especially with that larger bezel around the dial too. So there's a lot visually going on that it can probably be a turnoff for some people, but also be the kind of funkiness that draws you into it. Wearing experience. How has it been?
I mean, I enjoy it. You know, like you're saying, I can't remember the number you just said for thickness, 13.
We're just under 13.
Yeah, which I wouldn't say is particularly thick for a watch, but also isn't particularly thin, but I think it wears fairly well, especially on the bracelet. The lugs on this are very short, or they don't protrude very far. And you've got this sort of bracelet design that lets it really drape over your wrist, like pretty seamlessly. So plus with the undercut of the case, like all of that kind of combines to have it kind of hug your wrist well, and have this kind of very seamless feeling to it. I mean, as with any steel watch with a steel bracelet, there's some heft to it. You're maybe a little bit more aware of it, but yeah, I've enjoyed wearing it. As with any watch that has sort of a design aesthetic that's a little bit more outside the box, I think, it's not the kind of watch that like you grab every day, but whenever I do put it on, I always really enjoy it. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, and so do you always wear it on the bracelet then?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm like very much a bracelet person, and yeah, I think this bracelet just like matches the watch very well. So yeah, I end up wearing it on the bracelet most of the time.
Well, and the nice thing too with these models is we're displaying them all here on bracelets. On the website, we have them all photographed on leather straps, and that might be a little bit confusing for people, but they actually come with a leather strap and the bracelet, so you have the option to kind of swap it out, wear it how you want to wear it. Have you worn it on the leather at all?
Yeah, no, and it looks great. It's the leather strap we have here. It also has like curved spring bars in it.
Oh, nice. So I assume it has to because the lugs are so short, it kind of creates a compact package.
Yeah, so it contours around the case, which is cool. But yeah, I'm just like a bracelet guy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and so we obviously talked about dimensions a little bit. It is powered by the Sellita SW220-1, which for the price point I think might be what people are hoping for from the watch. Sellita, obviously a very proven name, very reliable caliber, used in kind of an interesting way here. When you were looking at the watch, when you were looking at the stats of it, were you really looking to check off boxes with the stats, or was this really more of an emotional design purchase?
Yeah, stats not at all.
Sure.
This is very much like an emotional purchase. Yeah. That's sort of generally how I like kind of collect watches. I think when you start to get up to a certain price point, you kind of want to make sure that you're buying something of a certain quality. So you want to make sure you kind of check some of those boxes. But for me, this was like very much an emotional purchase, and like the movement specifics didn't really like go into the purchasing decision.
Well, I think it's funny because people have brought up the fact just under $1,300 for the watch. So it's not an inexpensive piece out there. SW220, you can find it in some pieces that are a little less expensive, some that are a bit more. But at the end of the day, it's really just a nice, solid choice. We can't overlook the fact that the Mad 1 is using Miyota movements. So at the end, it's not about the movement; it's about how it's being used. And here we do have a very interesting system for using that movement too. Can you kind of speak to how do you read this watch? A lot of people, myself included, when I first saw it, it took me a very long time to realize how to actually read it. So can you kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, for sure. So the hour and minutes are like actually pretty easy to read. There's a central minutes hand that is very distinct, that's easy to track, and then you have this sort of large triangle hour pointer with a large sort of like half circle counterweight on the other side. That's going to be your hours, and yeah, like I said, like it's pretty like easy to follow, like hours and minutes. Like it's not that hard to read. Where things get kind of interesting is with these discs that are sort of receded behind this window on the top half of the watch. Where they are replacing the day and the date function of the movement. And they don't actually tell you anything in terms of the day and the date on the watch. So they're just colored discs. And what I think
with a gradient. So
with a gradient.
It changes too as it's going.
Yeah, and I think what's really cool, and it's probably like especially notable on these other models where again the color scheme is a little bit more diverse, or like a bit punchier. They really talk about this on the website, on the Solabs website, that like how many color combinations there are that you could potentially see on the dial. So while those discs don't like actually tell you anything about the day or the date, they are always changing, and it's like really fun to kind of watch, and it just sort of presents like a different look every time you look at your wrist. But yeah, like one of the things I really like about those two color discs sort of in the back is because they're the day and the date, you can change them manually. So you can kind of like rotate and play around with them and find like the color combination that you want. Like for example, I was sort of setting the time on this today, and for whatever reason, I kind of like the idea of like a darker purple on the outside and a lighter color on the inside. Like you can play around with that.
I actually didn't think about that until now, but because there's no actual day and date being read on there, you can pick how you want your watch to look.
Yep.
So it's customized obviously by Soul Labs to look very unique, but then you can further customize it to match your own style. That's kind of cool. I didn't think about that until now, especially with some of these more, again, punchier dials. You can really play around with it and make it look how you want it to look. Yeah. Which is kind of cool. How has the wear and tear been on your piece in particular? You've worn it a bit. How are the kind of nicks and bruises showing up?
Yeah, surprisingly well. Like in all fairness, I'm like fairly cautious with my watches, you know. Sure. And again, like I said, like this isn't the kind of watch you wear like on a daily basis. Like I have some watches I'll pick up and wear for 2 weeks straight. This isn't necessarily the watch where I do that with. But
it's a fun piece.
Yeah, it's sort of a fun, special thing. But yeah, so far it's been holding up well. It's not like I've gotten, you know, like natural little chips in the links or anything like that. Yeah,
that's one thing I'm really hopefully someone out there has bought the DLC black, because I really want to see this one worn away. With how punchy and vibrant the dial is, I want that black to kind of chip away at the edges and show that raw steel underneath. But overall, if you're worried about wear and tear, go for the blasted or the brushed. If you don't care about the wear and tear, maybe get the polished or the DLC. But that being said, where can someone pick one up?
Let me tell you. So we have these in the Windup Watch Shop, both online.
These exact ones.
These exact ones. But so we have it on site. We also have it in our Brooklyn showroom. And by the time you're watching this, our next Windup is going to be Windup Chicago, and Soul Labs will be in Windup Chicago. So that's a great time to go see them in person. Yeah,
I think these are watches too that a lot of people are going to want to get hands-on with before they just pull the trigger online, because I think they present very different in person than they do online. So going to the fair, coming to the showroom to get some hands-on with them, setting them for yourself so you can kind of feel that mechanism work. But yeah, I guess with all of that being said, Blake, thank you very much for joining me on this video talking about your actual Soul Labs Layer 2. All of you out there, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more. Leave a comment if you got to play with these maybe at our Dallas Windup Watch Fair. He was out there in Dallas with us. If you haven't seen him yet but you want to, let us know too. Maybe we can have some sort of event in the future where you can come on out and play with them and see what's going on.
Yeah, I should also add, in addition to having the showroom and you can go online, we do offer consultations, including virtual consultations. So if you're ever interested in anything that we have in the shop and you can't come to Brooklyn and a Windup is super far away, but you want to get a better sense of it, if we have the inventory, you can schedule an appointment and one of our associates can walk you through the watch and show it to you virtually.
Yeah, utilize that service. We've got it there for free, so why not come hang out with us?
Yeah.
Anyway, with all that being said, I know your time is valuable, so I appreciate you spending it with both of us here today. So until the next one, peace.